Hey, this is me building a $2 million a year business in public. Last month I made 170 grand in profit. And the way that these videos work is we start with some Q&A where you can ask me any question you want in the daily updates channel. Then I do some growth stats. So you can see my brand growth over the last 24 hours. Then finally we do live strategy. No live strategy today because I'm actually running to the airport in like 5 minutes. So let's do some Q&A. This is my main channel. And then this is the one that I take the questions out of, daily updates. Just going to scroll all the way down to the very bottom here. Give you guys a ton of value. So what do we got here? What's the very first question? Hey Nick, I've been having a weird thing going on with Instantly for the last few weeks. By Drew. I launched my email campaign for AI automation services about 2 months ago and received 1 to 2 leads and 2 to 3 rejections every day. That sounds pretty normal. This trend lasted for the first 2 weeks. However, the reply rates fell off the cliff overnight. I started getting 1 lead and 1 rejection and 2 to 3 rejections every 2 weeks. I have no idea what happened as I didn't change anything about the campaign itself. Since then, I've tried changing the subject, email, offer, number of emails sent every day, etc. Nothing seemed to have an effect. My bounce rates and open rates have been very good, by the way. Any tips or suggestions? P.S. Your videos and content have been amazing. Really allowed me to hone in on what to build and how to sell, so thank you loads. Well, thank you, Drew, and congratulations on getting those 1 leads every day with the campaign. That seems pretty standard with, like good copywriting and some of the good foundations that I talk about in my videos and my programs. I think the reality is that cold email goes up and down. If you really did see like an overnight cliff drop, then odds are this isn't just some longer term trend in the email. It's probably something specific that you did. Is it possible that maybe when you imported your leads, you imported 2 or 3 different audiences in the same CSV, and maybe one of your audiences was just significantly better than the other one? So when you exhausted that audience that one night, assuming that they're imported linearly top to bottom, that's why your reply rates fell off a cliff. Is that possible, do you think? Could it be, I don't know, you used some sort of messaging that a bunch of other people started using around the same time, and maybe the effectiveness of that messaging dropped? That doesn't seem very likely, but could be. Could there have been some pause or something? You mentioned that your open rates are good, but are you 100% sure? Have you head over to Glock apps or some sort of mail deliverability tester and just verified on all of the email inboxes? Those are probably the first 3 things that I would check realistically. It's honestly tough for me to say more, but that's most likely there's some issue there if it really did just, steeply go from being good and then just falling off a cliff like you were mentioning. That said, if this is your very first campaign, which you have already achieved is pretty remarkable. I remember my very first campaign, I was not receiving 1 to 2 leads a day. I was probably receiving like 1 lead every 3 or 4 days. And even that for me was enough to like make it profitable and like scale it up and have a good system. So yeah, great work, man. Great work. Hopefully this helps. Warsam Muhammad says, hey Nick, awesome videos always. I've been watching you for a while. Notice your background changes a bit, so assume you moved houses or apartments. You seem like someone who focuses on results and doesn't waste time overthinking things. Why do you move so often? Is it something you decide quickly or does it feel like a simple step for you? Curious how you think about the kind of freedom and flexibility in your lifestyle and how it affects your work and results. Dude, what a cool question. Thank you for asking it. I don't really think I've reflected on this that much. I think probably the main reason, well, my stated reason for moving as often as I do is I'm considering getting like a much longer term rental out here or out in Calgary. I'm in Vancouver right now for the better part of the next year. And I just wanted to scope out a couple of different areas. So what I'm doing is I basically just rent an Airbnb for a month. I think it's cool too because it allows me to rapidly accumulate experience and preferences and like what I like and what I don't like. For instance, I just realized after moving to another apartment for like a week or something like that 3 weeks ago, that I really don't like tall buildings with only 2 elevators, because inevitably what's going to happen, one of the elevators is going to be out of commission. So that building was 30 floors and 5 units per floor, 150 units in total, and they had 2 elevators. Obviously, what ends up happening with that is some of the times the elevator is out of commission. So you have 150 units times 2 people, probably 300 people using a single elevator every day. So if I didn't move into a bunch of places and if I didn't get to kind of compare them, I would not have figured that out. I would not have figured out that I don't actually want to live in some big skyrise at the very top. Likewise, if I hadn't lived in a bunch of other places, I wouldn't have figured out that like, I don't like specific types of floors. I don't really like specific types of walls. I don't like the sort of decor. I don't like those sorts of dishwashers. I know it's silly, but if you think about it, it's kind of the same way I've approached the cold email stuff, right? Just start screwing around first and then figure out how it all works afterwards. So it's not like I read some big treatise on the most optimal way to live, but I'm trying to suss it out, trying to feel it out myself. So after this learning-ish period, I'm going to move into a more stable place for a full year. And then also probably the first, if you've been with me rather for my first videos, then I was at my apartment and I actually sold that apartment. So no going back to that one. But that was just like a financial decision. Sarcasm says, what's the workout split right now? How are you going about reaching your daily macros? Dude, thank you. Yeah, I'm working out every single day for, hopefully every single day for 2025. So what I have right now is I have an app. Okay, it's called Gravitas. You guys are on Gravitas, by the way. Hit me up because I love the accountability of people seeing my lifts. It's sick. I add all my friends to it, and every time that I work out and I log it, all my buddies get a notification. They're like, "Yo, dude, sick, man," or like, "Yo, bro, that back, I don't know, seated row is lacking." It's actually really fun. So today I am going to do back. That's what's up today. I do a push-pull leg split, and then I do 2 5K runs per week on average. So I'll go push, pull, legs, run, push, pull, legs, run, over and over and over and over again. I don't really think too much about it. In terms of how I go about reaching my daily macros, I was actually just watching a Hormozy video, which I think summarized it the best. I think he said I hit my protein goals and then I backfill the rest of my calories. Simplest and easiest way I've found of phrasing that, I would say. So I just focus on my protein goals and then I backfill. Jack says, thank you, Sarcasm. Jack says, how to source content from a collection of RSS feeds. E.g. Feeder Pro has a link of curated feeds, automate newsletters rather than scraping Reddit posts. Notice a lot of media publications and feeds block scraping the content the feed links out to. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure I understand this. How to source content from a collection of RSS feeds. So there's a tool called Feeder Pro that presumably allows you to have a bunch of RSS feeds and have them aggregate into one. That's fair. You don't need something like this. You could just have, 4 or 5 different make.com RSS feed modules that call them maybe like once an hour and then add that to some Google Sheet. If you wanted to save the funds, presumably that, trades off against operational costs. Yeah, it's no problem, man. RSS feeds are like, they're honestly really straightforward. So like, for instance, YouTube has an RSS feed. I don't remember where it is. Hold on one sec. Okay, so if I go to YouTube and then Nick Saraev, like this, then down here, I should have my channel ID, and then I should just be able to paste in the channel ID right here. Okay, so for instance, YouTube has an RSS feed, right? What is an RSS feed? It's just like basically XML that you can request, and then it is returned in structured data. So this actually includes like a description of all of my videos. It includes the last 15 videos that I put out, for instance. So how do you actually use this? Well, with any no-code platform, instead of you using Appify as a scraping tool, what you do is you just go RSS, watch RSS feed items, feed in the URL of the RSS feed, and then you just press run this module only. Sorry, I think I need to go all RSS feed items. And then it'll actually pull them all up for you. So for instance, this is my video, 100K a month AI automation experts discuss job loss, for instance. This is one that I posted with Jack Roberts a little while ago. So that is the trigger. You now have access to all that structured data, which was taken as XML and then turned into a make.com object, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with it. So RSS feeds are pretty sick. Sebastian says, hey, Nick, I have 2 questions, if that's okay. No. Did you ever have a fear of uploading content online, e.g. YouTube? And if so, how did you overcome it? I also just started an agency and I've been doing cold calls as my outreach and lead gen. What are your opinions on this? And do you think I should change it? Cool. Yeah, I got you. No problem. Did you have a fear of uploading content online? Yeah, for sure. I've just been doing it a lot. I think that's a big thing. A lot of people they just never uploaded any content online, but I got over it like pretty early, I would say. We started uploading content for my first entertainment company, Savage Entertainment, back when I was like 18 or 19, and it was just me looking all cool, DJing shit, as well as a couple of friends of mine. And then, we just, honestly, it's very cringy looking back. We just looked like a bunch of morons. And it's kind of funny, and it was a good time. And then that was just simple static photos usually, and then some videos. Then from there, I started an online course business where I recorded a bunch of videos teaching people how to do various things. One of them was speak on camera, which is pretty interesting. And, that kind of necessitated that I put myself out there. So I think it's less so that like I have a tactic or anything. It's just that I've just been doing it for a while. So to me, it's not a big deal. But honestly, it's just like public speaking, right? Like the very first time you step up on that podium, or the very first time, I don't know, your teacher calls your name in class and you have to say something. It's pretty hard, right? The more that you do it and the more used to it that you get, the more willing you are just to put yourself out there, flaws and all, which I think is really important. So just a skill. What are your opinions on this in terms of the cold calls? Yeah, I don't really think cold calls are very optimized these days. I think that there are significantly better ways to do outreach. Cold emails, I would say, are probably pound for pound, like 100 times as efficient or whatever, dollar for dollar. And then like in terms of your time, because the vast majority of the time when you're doing cold calls, I know you're selling websites and that's fine. When you do cold calls, okay, like 50% of all the leads that you call right off the bat are just not going to get back to you. So that means like like 50% of every time you're pumping in the number, or 50% of whatever, all the times that you're sourcing the leads, that is just wasted. So if you spend 10 hours, okay, or 10 units of some sort of investment, capital investment, let's say, that means that 5 units are zero right off the bat. Of the remainder of those 5 units, or 50%, like 30% of the time, you're just going to be talking to a secretary or somebody that's not a decision maker, that has no ability to actually like make something happen in the organization. And then the other 20% of them, you'll finally get somebody. But of the 20% of the time, 50% of the time, they're just extraordinarily busy or pissed or just not in a mood to like actually entertain any chat, whether or not you're the god of cold calling. They're just immediately hang up. Then like, some small percentage of those people will actually be qualified and actually be willing to hear you out, and assuming that your pitch is good and that, you have all your sales fundamentals. So what does this mean? If you spend 100% on something, only like 10% of that effort is actually being translated into real results. And because it's such a manual thing, it's just, to me, it's like, it's like the first car engines. Like the first internal combustion engines can only translate like, I don't know, some small middling amount of the energy generated by the combustion of the engine and turn that into forward motion for the vehicle, like 5%, 10% or something like that, right? Even now, I think we're at like 40%, 50%, 35, 40% max. It just doesn't really seem to me like the most effective use of my time or resources. If you take the same amount of time you would have spent doing that for like a couple hours, you could just whip up a cold email campaign and source 10,000 leads and send 10,000 emails. And what you could do is with those emails, you would identify a subset of those people that respond positively to you. And now you just have a subset of leads that you can actually just reach out to then. So now you have a list of 100 leads out of 10,000 that might actually be interested in your service. That's when you pick up the phone and dial. You've pre-qualified the 100 leads. You've avoided all those people that aren't by their phones or aren't willing to talk to you or don't have the right phone numbers or whatever. Those are the guys that you can actually call. So cold calls are pretty rough. Warm calls are fine. Cold calls are tough. Okay. Mateo6753 says, "Hey Nick, absolutely loving the content. Thank you, man. Caught Anki in your doc the other day, sparked a thought. Never really considered using it for anything beyond languages. Found your 2018 blog post on it, but I'm curious. Do you use it these days in a more novel way for business stuff, AI dev, or even rationalist mental models? Been thinking about doing that. Would love to know how you're integrating it nowadays." Yeah, man, I was using Anki for quite a while for exactly the purposes that you're describing. It worked really well. To be honest, the one thing that's preventing me from using it is just the force of habit. So I've tried to pick it up a couple of times. It's just difficult for me to translate that into a direct ROI these days, so I haven't really been doing it as much as before. But yeah, for quite a while I was using, I don't know if I have any of these decks, for quite a while I was using Anki to store rationalist mental models. So I had like a list of, 50 or 60 models or something like that. And then I took those 50 or 60 models and then I used them to, basically every time that I encountered a problem, I would like run through my list of mental models in my head. Now, obviously a lot of it is like Bulgarian. So it's not exactly directly ROI related. And I have a couple of decks. Like I do all sorts of weird shit, man, like multiplication tables. There's a bunch of travel decks. There's probably Bulgarian again. A bunch of clothes things. Yeah, I think Bulgarian's probably the only thing. Oh, I think I did it for a while. I don't believe I can actually pull up the image, which is unfortunate. But anyway, these are like some biology stuff. I did it for a while. Basically, anytime I try and learn something new, I will, I'll spend a couple of days like reading about it, and then I'll just create a bunch of Anki cards on it. And then Anki is just a flashcard app. So now I just have some flashcards that I can sort of proceed top to bottom and use to retrace my steps. It's very valuable. It's very, very valuable. Wish more people used it. But yeah, it's just about some sort of daily habit, checking it 15 minutes a day or something along those lines. You do become a lot more capable, I will say. And I did that when I was learning dev. So just a study tool. Traveling Juge said, "King, sent over a content calendar to your email. Hope she helps. Thank you. Much appreciated. If an ask and book meeting, so can you. Go out there and crush it." Agreed. All right. I got to get going for my flight. So very much appreciated. I'm going to Nick for president. Hell yeah, brother. President of my own country, the AI automation country. I'm going to call it there. I'll just do some quick brand stats and then log off here, upload this before I head out. But yeah, pretty stoked on this. I'm currently videoless. I don't have a video for today. And this is the first time that I don't have a video for today in a very long time because we've been just absolutely blowing the hell up. So that means that the second I get home from my flight, I'm basically going to have to record a video, which is going to be pretty tough because it's going to be around like 8 o'clock probably. And then somehow get it out before midnight. So this may actually be the first time in a very long time I don't publish a video consistently every single day. Hopefully it doesn't get to that point. But anyway, regardless of the fact that I haven't sorted that out, obviously nobody knows about that because my Instagram keeps growing like crazy. The YouTubes keep going like crazy. And yeah, we're at like 1.70% for this, almost 1% for this. Dude, if you grow 1% per day, 1.01, okay, that's how that math works, times, raise to 365, that's 37 times multiplying your base rate. That means that if right now I'm at 73,702, I could theoretically grow 1% on that every single day, I would be at 2,784,714.67 followers. So it'd be 2/3 of a follower that'd be very happy to watch my content, I guess. So that's the multiplicative and like leveraged aspect of content. That's why content's so great. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching as per usual. Check out Maker School. We just hit 1,900 members, and check out MakeMoneyWithMake.com. Just opened the cap from 400 to 500, and I'm doubling the prices as soon as I get home. Thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing y'all tomorrow.